Hello, NuPIC. I'm Matt Taylor. I'm the community flag bearer for the Numenta platform for intelligent computing. And I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how to get code contributions into NuPIC using, for example, NuPIC core if you have something you'd like to change. So this will give an overview of our developer process and walk you through each step required step by step. So I am starting off here on the NuPIC core repository on GitHub, and if you're starting from scratch, I'm assuming that you have some basic Git knowledge. So the first thing we are going to want to do is fork this repository from the GitHub web UI. There's a big fork button here on the right. If you click that, it will bring up a dialog that asks you where do you want to fork it if you're a member of any organizations. They'll show. My personal profile is dimmed out because I already have this forked, but if you don't have it forked, your GitHub ID should show up here and you'll fork it in your own namespace. So once clicking that, it will show you a screen where it says it's currently forking, but it's because mine's already forked, it just brought me to my fork. So as you can see now, I'm on github.com rhyolite/NuPIC core, not Numenta/NuPIC core, which is the main location of the code. So this is my own personal fork. To get a clone of my new fork locally, you need this clone URL down here on the right menu. So you can just click this button to copy to your keyboard. I'm going to switch over to my terminal. I am just in an empty directory that I'm using here. To clone it locally, you'll type git clone and then paste that URL that you got from the GitHub page, and it will start cloning the entire fork locally onto your local hard disk. Depending on the size of the repository, this could take anywhere from a few seconds to several minutes. NuPIC core isn't really that large, so it shouldn't take too long. But NuPIC, I believe, is pretty large, so if you're cloning NuPIC, it would take you a few minutes. So now if I take a look here, I've got NuPIC core cloned locally. I'm going to cd into it, and as you can see, this is the NuPIC core source code. So let's say I have a change that I would like to make. I'm just going to, for simplicity's sake, update the readme. And instead of incomplete, I'll say is not complete. So this could be any change. It could be a significant change. You could change, you could move things around, or you could just make small changes. But essentially, if I do a git status, it will show that I have modified the readme. This is a change that I want to now turn into a pull request. However, I'm still on my own master branch on my fork. So a very good thing to do is to create a remote branch that is not master to do your changes for a certain feature. So for this example, there's an easy git command to do this. I could say git checkout on a branch, and I'll call it my test feature. So this does two commands. It creates a new branch called my test feature, and it checks it out. So it's essentially the same as typing git branch my test feature and then git checkout my test feature. So as you can see, it switched me to a new branch called my test feature. So I do a git status, which is what just showed me. On branch, my test feature, I'm no longer on master. And it says I have a change that's not staged for commit, this readme file. Now this is a git thing. If I git checkout master at this point, my change will come along with me. So as you see here, now I'm back on master, but my change to the readme has followed along because I have not committed it yet. It's the act of committing that will actually associate your changes to the branch you are currently on. So I want to go back to my test feature. Okay, I'm back on my branch, my test feature branch, I still have this readme change that I want to add. So git commit. Actually, I have to add it. Git add readme. So this will add it to a list of things that will be staged for commit. So at this point, it says changes not staged for commit. As soon as I add that file, it will now be staged. Git status will show changes to be committed, and the readme is right there. So this is ready to be committed. It is staged. However, there is no commit message associated with it. I have not actually created a commit, but I can do that easily by saying git commit. This will bring up a default text editor for you to write a commit message if you do not provide one on the command line. So I'm just going to say updated readme for no reason. Now, for GitHub's sake, the first line will be the title of the commit, and if you add lines underneath of it, it will be sort of an amplification to that. So I always put a short title up front, and then I'll add amplification details afterwards. Just a dummy change for a tutorial I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to save that file, and now if I do a git status, it tells me I'm on my test feature. There's nothing to commit because I've already got a commit. I've already created that commit, and my working directory is clean. So at this point, you can push your changes you can make as many commits as you want on your feature branch. It's a good idea to break your changes up into several commits, especially if you're doing a detailed feature. Anytime I'm working through something and I find the repo I'm working on in a usable state, I'll usually want to try and commit that, because if you have a commit, you can easily roll back and forth between the SHAs associated with those commits. So, but this example, we're just going to have one commit. In order to push that, because this commit, this branch, my test feature, only exists on my local hard drive right now. I have not told Git or GitHub about it, so I need to push this branch, which is a local local branch, into a remote branch that exists within the overall Git repo that I've forked. So to do this, I'm going to say git push. Now, before I do that, let me show you git remote. This will show me all of my remote branches, or my remote locations, excuse me. So my origin is my fork, okay? So I only have one remote, so I can just say git push. You can say origin to specify what remote you're pushing to be explicit. And it's called my test feature. So this command will create a new remote branch on my origin location called my test feature. And it will push that change to the README. And it tells me I've got a new branch now. It originated from my local branch called my test feature, and there is a new remote branch called my test feature. If you don't want to use the name that you originally created for your local branch, you can change it too. I can also say git push origin my test feature, and I'll call it renamed test feature. So what this will do is create another remote branch on my remote origin location, but this time it's going to be called renamed test feature. It'll contain the exact same changes that are in my test feature, but you can name it whatever you want. So, so I only have 2 branches locally master in my test feature, but I think what is git branch R. I think this will show you all your remote branches as well. So this shows me on origin I've got all these remote branches that I'm playing with, and there's my test feature and there's rename test feature. So we know about those 2 remote branches. Okay, so let's go take a look at what these look like on GitHub now since I pushed it. Let's refresh this page, and you can change the branch you're looking at here. And as this is the page still refreshing. There we go. So now GitHub already sees these 2 remote branches that I've pushed, and it's giving me an option to compare them and create a pull request. So anytime you push a remote branch, if it's within a certain time period, GitHub will try and help you out and say, oh, you're probably going to create a pull request from this remote branch, so here's what it looks like. So if you click this button, it brings up a comparison view. It shows you what files were changed and the diffs between them. You can also look at and see the commits. You might have a long list of commits here for this pull request, and how many contributors. So this is the pull request that I want to create. You have a chance to update the title of the pull request. GitHub tries to guess for you, but if you have a lot of different commits here, I think it uses the latest one. So you might want to rename the pull request to kind of summarize what the PR is doing and put some details in here about what's going on. A good thing to do is if you have an issue associated with it, there's an issue number, so you could put fixes number 444 or something like that, or number, I don't know. Usually it will try and auto-complete this. But you can put the issue number there, and if you do that, it will automatically associate that with some ticket. So in this case, this is, well, it's a PR, but and then when you merge this pull request, that ticket will be closed if you specify fixes $, and the issue number. But we're not going to do that on this because this is just a dummy thing. So I'm going to send the pull request. There's no danger at any point in doing any of this stuff. This pull request, though, will then notify the people who are watching this repository that a new pull request has been opened. So here is the pull request. It's pull request number 44. If you look through it, you can see there's one commit, there's one file changed, and all I did was change the name of that. You can also see that initially GitHub shows this thing that says it can be merged automatically. Don't trust this. It probably can be merged automatically, but we have our own tooling. If you refresh the page, you'll get a message that says waiting. The Travis CI build has not started. So before one of our reviewers on the NuPIC development team will approve this PR and merge it, it's going to have to pass the Travis build. So right now the Travis build hasn't started. So if you click on this details tab, it will take you to the Travis build page for Numenta NuPIC core. It doesn't always kick off right off the bat. Travis sometimes takes a while to allocate a resource for you. So if you click on the pull request tabs, you can see there it is. This is my pull request. Travis has allocated it as build 40, however it has not started yet. So there's no telling how long this will actually take before it starts. It's usually just a few minutes. If you're lucky, it will start right away. But if you keep this open, you can keep an eye on it. Otherwise, you can always just refresh this page to see if the build is started or not. So I will cut back to this once Travis has started running this build so we can take a look at it. Another thing that might be useful is if you go to status.numenta.org, there is a status page, and there's a NuPIC and a NuPIC core tab currently. The NuPIC core tab will, as soon as Travis actually starts running this build, will display the status of your PR here on the right here under PR build history. So as soon as it does actually start, we will take a quick look at that. So I'm just going to wait around here until it starts. There it goes. So it looks like it has started. As you can see, there's a build matrix. There are 2 jobs associated with this build that we've configured for NuPIC core. One is for CLang here, and one is for GCC. It looks like the CLang one has built and passed, and the GCC one has not quite started yet. So you can dive into these and see what the output is So this one exited with 0, it ran the build, and everything seems like it went fine. This one, however, is still being created. But if you look on the status board, you can see that you at least got an indication here that the PR has started. And if you hover over this, you'll get more details about the message and when it started, invalidate for finish because it hasn't actually finished yet. And this is also listed as the latest NuPIC core build that's currently running. So again, we'll have to sit here and wait. If we go back to the GitHub page for this pull request and refresh it, you'll see the message here changed. It says the Travis CI build is in progress now. So now if you click on this details link, it'll take you directly to the build that is in progress. And we're still waiting on the GCC build to get started. And there it goes. Looks like the GCC build has now kicked off. If you click this button to follow the logs, it will keep up with the latest stuff coming out of standard out. And it is now complete. The NuPIC core build simply builds at this point. It does not run tests yet. In the process of doing that. So now build 40 is green. The pull request tab should show green. And if there we go, the NuPIC status page should show that PR is green. And back to the PR, we refresh this page, you should have a big green merge button. If you have push access to the repository, you'll see this big green merge button. If you don't, it won't be there. So currently only committers can push to the master branch. So otherwise, and it is just standard policy for a project that someone who creates a PR is not the person who merges the PR. So generally, you're going to ask someone else to review your change and press this merge button, and that someone else is going to need to be a committer on the NuPIC project. So I am not going to push the merge button because this really is a useless change, but that pretty much walks you through the process of getting a change submitted and reviewed for all of our NuPIC projects. So this process is the same for NuPIC, NuPIC core, Cerebro, the website, the tooling server, all of our projects are pretty much the same. That is about it. Once you have merged it, locally you can get rid of that branch. You'll have an option once you hit merge to delete your remote branch, and I suggest you delete it just to keep your remote branches clean. I don't always remember to. But then once it is merged, you can just go back to master. One thing we don't have, though, is a remote pointing to the original NuPIC, which is NuPIC core here. So I'll run through this real quick for you. We want to add another remote. So if you remember, if we do git remote, and V is for verbose, I only have one remote location called origin, and that is pointing to my fork of the NuPIC core repository. I'm going to add another remote, and typically the standard is to call it upstream. And then I'm pasting actually this URL from the Numenta NuPIC core, the original repository. And so I'm basically telling my local git remote add upstream paste. There we go. So now if I look at my remote branches, I've got origin pointing to my fork and upstream pointing to the original fork. So I can now I can get my changes updated on my master branch that I've made by saying git pull upstream master. If I had pressed that merge button this would get me those changes that were merged into master. But since I didn't, everything is already up to date, and it's all good. Another thing you can do, let me check out my test feature branch again. Sometimes you'll get a merge conflict. Let's go back to this pull request. Oh, where was I? It was an open pull request, so here it is. Readme for no reason. Sometimes you won't be able to merge because there are merge conflicts, and you'll have to manually resolve those merge conflicts. So how to do that is from your test feature branch. This is your local branch. You're going to want to try and pull the changes that need to be merged from upstream. So the quickest and easiest way to do this is to just say git pull upstream master. So this will pull any changes that have been made to the master branch upstream, so the most recent head of master, development head, into your local branch. Now I don't have any changes, so it's just going to tell me it's up to date, but this is where you would be displayed any merge conflicts that need to be resolved. You would manually resolve them, turn that resolution into a separate commit, push that commit up to your remote branch, like I showed earlier, and the PR will update with any further commits. So let me show you something additional. So sometimes when you're on this pull request, somebody might come in, look at your file, and say something like, hey, this is a dumb change. Why even do it? Because it is a dumb change. But it wouldn't be me. Somebody else could come in there and say that. Or they will just suggest that maybe you should do something different. And you won't be able to merge until you take their advice into consideration or discuss it or something. So let's say that happened to me. And I want to go into the readme again and say, instead of not complete, I'll just say isn't done yet. I don't know. Just something silly. So I've made another change. So my git status will show me that this change is not staged for commit. So git add readme git commit, and I'll say reworded readme, taking my own advice. Okay. So then I will push this now to origin my test feature. So this now gets pushed to the remote branch, my test feature, which is linked directly to this commit. As you can see, it immediately said this page is out of date. Refresh to see the latest. And now you can see my first commit here and my second commit, where I said reworded readme. And as you can see, you can expand these to see some amplifying text about the change. But once again, since I pushed this, the status now is pending. It is waiting. So now I have to go through the whole cycle again of waiting for Travis. And if we look back here under pull requests and refresh this page, we will see that there is a new build for my latest commit. So back to the PR, every one of these SHAs, every one of these commits that you push will be validated by Travis. If there's any update to this PR, Travis will attempt to rerun everything against it. So now that I've made a second change in response to someone who's critiqued my code or something like that, after I've pushed, I have to sit here and wait for Travis to run again, because we're just not going to merge anything that does not pass in Travis. Another thing that popped up here is all of these statuses are posted into the NuPIC Hackers IRC channel. So for example, I got an indicator from Travis here that said that the build passed. It will show me the change view in GitHub. So this is actually some other build that was running, but that's good. And details. So this wasn't actually associated with the change that I was working on because I have not merged it into master yet. But if you do lurk in this NuPIC hackers area, you'll get all of the different Travis status changes, GitHub status changes posted here if you want to keep an eye on it and be notified. So the build has still not started, but I think you get the gist of this. As soon as that build runs and passes, this will turn green and say it's okay to merge. Someone, again, not the originator of the pull request, but someone on the review team will be able to press this merge pull request button once it is turned green. And your change can get into the repository. So that's it. That's the quick tutorial for getting changes into a NuPIC project. Thanks for your time watching. If you have any questions, please email the mailing list. Probably you can either email, this would probably be more fitting in NuPIC hackers if you are attempting to get a code change into the repository. So sign up for the NuPIC hackers mailing list here. You can subscribe in this form. And ask a question about this, and I'd be happy to answer you.